Hey chicks, let's chat. So today I want to talk about why we stay. Why we stay in relationships, situationships, friendships. Why we stay past the time that we should stay, right? And I feel like that's a situation that at some point everybody has been in, not just women, but at some point everybody has been in a situation where they should have left a long time ago. But for whatever reasons they stayed, right? It could be your job. Maybe you should have left your job 10 years ago and you still hanging around, for whatever reason. Um, Maybe you should have broken off a friendship, you know, a whole decade ago, but you still there because you say, hey, we grew up together, you know, and you feel that's a reason to stay. It's so many reasons that we stay or that we give for staying. Um, Sometimes it's just a simple fact that the real reason why we stand is because we scared of what the outcome is going to be. We scared of what tomorrow looks like if we're not with that person or if we're not at that job. What does tomorrow look like if I leave this job today that's paying me well? What does tomorrow look like if I leave this relationship that I've been in for 20 years? What does the dating scene look like? I ain't as fine as I used to be. Am I going to have a hard time finding somebody? Are they going to do all the little special little things that I like when I do find them? It's so many questions that we have about, leaving. If I break off this friendship with this girl, is she gonna tell all my deepest, darkest secrets? It may be cheaper for me to keep her because she know where the body's buried, and she may start telling all my business, who I talk about, who I did whatever with, if I don't keep her in my circle, right? So, like I said, I feel like a lot of times we stay in situations because we're so scared of what tomorrow looks like without that person, without that situation, without that circumstance. And I guess we let fear kind of dictate to us what we're gonna do and what we're not gonna do. I mean, sometimes a person may say, "Well, no, it's not that I'm scared." Well, a lot of times when it's not that you're scared, is that you don't want to be alone. Sometimes we stay because the truth of the matter is that when that phone dry and those texts, those good morning, good afternoons, good night texts ain't coming through, when you've been used to that for so long, a lot of times people don't want to go into that mode. That's a real, if we could be, real honest with each other. If you've ever went from having someone to not having anyone, like you didn't just jump head first into another relationship, and now you actually have to go through the motions of being alone, and your phone, it's not jumping, ain't no text messages coming through. It don't matter how many times you click on it and look, ain't no text messages there, ain't no calls, it's nothing, you know. And that period of time when we actually have to be alone and deal with ourselves, that could be a very trying time for a lot of people. And that is the time that people like to evade. And that's why a lot of times you see some women and men too. You don't never see them by themselves. They go from one relationship to the next, to the next, to the next. And a lot of times I ain't gonna lie, I'll be like, dang, did she even go to the doctor and get a pap smear or any kind of test before she started messing with Buddy? Did he go do any kind of checkup before he went and started laying up with another female? Like, you don't even, a lot of times, like, people don't even get a body a break, let alone their mind or their emotions, you know. And it's like, how do you do that? How can you just go, like, and not even give any time for yourself? Because it's hard doing that alone thing. And if anybody say that it's not hard, they have not done it for a long period of time, because it does get easier as you do it. But when you in the first couple months of that, listen, especially when you are used to, hey, laying up under somebody, going places with somebody, doing something, just having a person, right? Just having somebody that you know, hey, when push come to shove, I could holler at them. Me and them could get together and go eat, just enjoy the weekend together, enjoy your night or whatever. When you know that you have a person that you could do that with, regardless of how well y'all get along, still that's your person, regardless of whatever the relationship is or isn't, that's your person. To go from having a person to not having a person, that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to do. And especially when you serious about it, because one thing about it, when you get real serious about you and trying to do the right thing or trying to just correct your wrongs in life and get on a different path, you have a lot of different things coming your way. You have, men who are already in relationships coming your way constantly. You have men who married coming your way constantly. And I assume that it's the same way for men. You got darts just coming at you every which way. And basically, it's just, the darts just trying to see if they're going to stick. If you going, basically. And it meets you at that time when you about be finna go. You know what I'm saying? Just because you've been doing the alone thing, or just because the alone thing sometimes gets hard to do, and just when you about to go, you like, nah, I ain't come this far to go back. I ain't come this far to go deal with this person. If I was gonna go deal with him, then I may as well have stayed with him, and those are the kind of conversations that you have to have, and in real life, you be having those conversations in real time, like, nah, I don't know now, ain't nobody gonna know, I might slide over here for a little bit, those are the kind of, conversations that you really be, those the situations you really be in, and the conversations you be having with yourself. Sometimes you have them with your homegirls. It just depends on the situation. But a lot of times when you're doing that alone thing, that's the one thing that people cannot stand to do, And I don't know, maybe I just want to encourage people who are like myself, or who have had to do it, so you understand, what comes with it. Or you may be in that situation now where you are really trying to do, the alone thing. You're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to regroup. Maybe you fresh out of a relationship, or a situation, and you just trying to figure it out. What way you want to go. Do you want to get back in a relationship? Maybe you don't want to get in a relationship. Maybe you need a little time. Maybe you need some therapy. Maybe you just need some me time. Maybe you want to wait till your kids get a little older. Maybe, you want to, I don't know. It's just whatever it is that you're trying to do with yourself that requires you to have to steal away and be alone and get it together. For me, in my case, it was a situation where I felt like I had been doing this one thing for so long. And even though the thing I was doing, for lack of a better way to describe it, it was wonderful, but it was wrong, right? And it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't taking me anywhere. And I feel like it was plugging up my blessings, like it was, I just feel like it had me at a standstill, right? And one thing about life is that, if you not too far down the delusional line, when you living right, and when you ain't living right. When you could be better. When things could be going better for you, but it ain't. And you start looking at what it is that you're doing, possibly that could be a hindrance. And if you keep it a buck with yourself, you start saying, you know what, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this, at least not like this, or maybe I know I shouldn't be dealing with this person, at least not in, under those circumstances, or whatever your situation may be. And then at some point, you decide to pick you or the situation. And for me, I picked me. And I knew that it was gonna be a long time that I was gonna have. And I'm the type of person, like, I never mind being alone, like, cause it's peaceful for me that way. But what you don't, it's some cost that you don't count, because it's one thing when you're alone by choice. You know what I'm saying? Then it's another thing when you get to the point where, hey, I'm alone, but I'd rather be doing something else, but I can't do that. So then now it feels like you alone by force. And then that's when it get kind of hard, because it's like, man, I'm trying real hard. But boy, I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to maintain this, And then that's when you start, like I say, you start really doing some in-depth thinking and feeling, and you start saying, you know what? That homegirl, that she always got a man and she go from one man to the next, and that's why she do that. Because she can't take times like this. She's not built for actually being alone, walking a journey alone and really getting her stuff together. She can't do it. She's too used to the company of a man. She's too used to him being around. She's too used to the comfort, that they bring. When you a heterosexual woman and you like men, like, there's a level of comfort that nothing beats that man laying in your bed next to you at night. Like, I don't care how many good comforters you have and how your thread count is, or how many pillows you got on your bed. Like, nothing beats the comfort of that man getting into bed with you and y'all saying night night. You hear me? So when you able to do that with ease, and then you make a decision that, hey, I'm no longer doing this under these circumstances. This is not the way I'm trying to go. This is not the walk I'm trying to have. I'm going this way. And this way requires some alone time. And you don't know how long that alone time going to be. Then you understand why she from man to man. Then you understand why men go from woman to woman to woman. Like, if it's hard for a woman, imagine how hard it has to be for a man to say, you know what, I could go holler at what's the name, but I ain't going over there. Like, I'm finna stay here and she ain't coming over here. Like, that have to be one of the hardest things on earth for a man to do, But you do it in the name of trying to get your life together, trying to get your mind right, trying to become a better person for yourself and for the next person who you feel like really deserves you. You do those things, the sacrifice that you make. I truly believe that the reward on the opposite end of that will be worth it. And it will be worth it whether what's his name, whatchamacallit, whether they come or not. It's going to be worth it because you actually took the time to get yourself together. You actually took a time out to say, you know what? Instead of me interrupting somebody's son's life, let me just go ahead and deal with my mama daughter, my daddy daughter. Let me just go ahead and deal with her, And it's not to say that the person that you was dealing with was the worst person in the world, or y'all had the worst situation in the world. No, because that wasn't my case at all. But did you feel like there was something better? Even if it wasn't necessarily a better person, maybe it was a better situation. Maybe you and that person needed to deal with each other under different circumstances, Because I'm big on marriage. I'm big on that. Everybody, it don't mean nothing to everybody, but I'm big on the responsibility that comes with marriage, the respect that comes with marriage. Like, I ain't never big on girlfriend, boyfriend, titles like that. Because to me, what is a girlfriend? What is a boyfriend? To me, those titles don't really mean nothing. Like, they don't really hold no weight. It's a whole lot of expectations that come with titles like that, but not really a whole lot of respect, So I feel like when that person really chooses you and you really choose them and y'all decide that y'all are going to be, explicitly with one another and that's it, and y'all the only people that y'all want, commitment, that's when I feel like it means something. Until he's ready to do that, like I don't respect girlfriend and boyfriend stuff. Like it's like it's fluke and it's childish at a certain age, because why am I 40 years old going with you? Where is it that we going at this point? Nowhere. If you ain't ready to be committed to me, that's where we going. Nowhere. So no, we can't go together at 40 some years old. Come on, man. But back to what I was saying, like, it is a long road. The road of alone is long, and you don't know where it ends at. You know what I'm saying? You don't know if it stops at happily ever after way, or if it ends at, hey, you die court. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know. Truth of the matter, But what you do know is that in this life, you only get one time to do it. It's some things that you can never run back. It's time period that you'll never get that time again. And I just feel like if you're going to run this race of life and really give yourself a chance at winning, you got to put yourself in the best position. And that's in everything, whether it's, like I said, whether it's your job, whether it's your friendships, your relationships, your family, you got to put yourself in the best position. And a lot of times, like I said, we are so scared to be alone that we don't take the time to get ourselves together in the way that we need to. And then here it is, you over here being as toxic as you can be with this lady's son, who he might be half decent, and you the toxic person. But you ain't took no time to get yourself together, because you ran right from that old relationship into this lady's son. And you can't even show up as your best self for him, because you got so much work that you need to work on. And that's the truth that a lot of us won't tell ourselves. Like, baby, when the last time you wasn't with a man? Tell me that time and how long it was that you actually didn't touch a man. You didn't let him touch you. You took time to work on yourself, to get your life together, to figure out what you're doing with school, figure out what you're doing in your career, figure out what you're doing with your health, with your spirituality. Like, when the last time you took time to actually work that situation out? As women, we'll spend so much time wrecking our brains over relationships. But when that situation ends, for whatever reason, whether we chose for it in or whether it just end, we won't invest that same amount of time in us. Now, if I dealt with you for 20 years, the least I could do is give myself 5 years to get myself together, if it takes that. All I'm saying is that sometimes you really got to choose you. You really have to choose yourself. And choosing yourself, it means that choosing you. Sometimes you can't choose you and him. You can't choose you and your homegirl from childhood or whatever. Sometimes you really have to say, I'm choosing me, and on this journey, you can't come. And I ain't beefing with you. We ain't mad, but we have ran our course in this situation. Maybe we'll meet up again. Maybe life will have it that we'll circle back around and both of us will be better people by the time we run across each other again. But in this moment, for me to be able to run the course of my life and not have no regrets, I owe it to myself to try to work things out within me and put myself on the best possible path that I can. And that means that I got to leave you in this situation. That ain't it. I got to leave this alone. I have to leave this job. I have to leave this career that, although the people are nice, the money is okay, but I'm not learning anything. And I don't even like it anymore. But I'm here because it pays me well. And the people are all right. But I ain't learned nothing new. I've been doing this same thing for I don't know how long. I ain't learned nothing new in regards to anything. No new technologies, no new software. I ain't even read a book in I don't know how long. I ain't read a book since Great Expectations. Like, for real, you owe it to yourself to put yourself on the best trajectory possible. Especially if you at the point where you either don't have kids or you have raised your kids, you done put them on a good situation. They, off to college or they doing pretty good. You don't have a whole lot of worries, a whole lot of woes for them right now. And you can start kind of getting back to focusing on yourself. Do the best that you can to give yourself the best foundation that you can. Sometimes you starting all over again at an older age. Sometimes you just not finna do your best living. You was playing in your 20s, you was playing in your 30s, and as you done got older, now you serious about life, and you like, you know what? What I've been doing ain't working. Let me focus on me and try to get me together and really put some time into me and figure out me before I go try to link up with this lady's son. Right? Like I say, same with your female relationships. Yes, you and her have been friends forever. But when the last time, you really felt like a connection with her? Like, you know what? That's my dog. I love her. She really supported me. She really been supported. No, y'all just friends by terms. Not by the real definition of what friends are. Y'all just friends because that's what y'all called each other, because y'all been knowing each other for so long. And maybe at some point in y'all life, y'all was really cool and really straight or whatever. But nah, that's not really what y'all are. You barely tell her any of your business. Why? Cause she talk too much. Or because she seem like she low-key like got beef for you or something. Like just something is off, and it's been off for years. But you've been too scared to say, sis, listen, I love you. And I wish the best for you. But I'm going to go on and let you do you right now. And I'm going to go on and work out some things with me. And hey, if we meet again, then we do. It's up. But if not, then it ain't no beef. But I know something is off with this, just like you know. Like, one thing I notice is that grown people, it's hard for grown people to have grown conversations, and I don't know if it's because, we don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, or we be too scared to get our feelings hurt, so we'll go and we'll keep acting and playing and pretending for a long time in situations. And I don't know, I'm just not cut like that to be pretending. Like, I just want to go ahead and cut it off, and not to cut it off with beef or animosity, or not cut it off because it ain't no love, because I still want you to understand that I respect you or that I love you, but just right now, what we have ain't it, But like I say, people be so scared to walk away from those things because they don't know what tomorrow brings. They don't know if, y'all gonna fall out, or you gonna, like I say, you gonna tell their business, or if that person gonna end up going to get married with somebody else, or if you're gonna lose your one shot. Listen, if any of that type of stuff happened, that just wasn't your person. That wasn't your person. And I'm not talking about you just randomly, wake up one day, oh, I'm just leaving, and you ain't got no reason to do that. I'm talking about when it's a situation where that what you got going on ain't good. And how you living, how you moving ain't right. And you really need to cut that off and figure out some stuff in your life, in your heart, in your mind, and regroup and try it again at some point. I'm talking about those kind of situations because, like I said, I really feel like we find ourselves in those situations at certain times in life, and when you find yourself in that situation, you can't be scared to go ahead and choose you so that you can put yourself on the best trajectory, and sometimes that means pulling away from people, cutting off relationships, going a separate way, taking time outs, taking breaks, whatever that may mean. And I ain't talking about the, oh, we was on break. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the real, like, hey, go do you. If God bring us back together, it is what it is. And that's what it was supposed to be. You know, I ain't talking about the kind of breaks they be doing on TV, or the breaks you have, relationship break, and then somebody get a baby. And I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the real kind where you really say, hey, like, I'm out of here. I'm going to get my life together. If it's meant to be, we'll wind up back together. If not, then hey, we had a good run, baby. So yeah, if anything that I have said, you know, strikes in the chord with you, got any questions, any comments, you know, drop it in the comment section. Y'all have a good one.